Welcome to this explainer. Okay, think about the last time you experienced just absolutely incredible service. The kind that didn't feel like a mere transaction, right? It felt human, like a carefully crafted connection. Well, today we are going to unpack the exact blueprint behind architecting that kind of excellence in personal and lifestyle services. We often tend to think of great service, like hospitality or genuine care, as some sort of magic trick performed by naturally gifted people. But here's the secret. Excellence isn't magic. As you'll see looking at this foundational blueprint, it is actually highly structured. It's engineered. It's all about taking those invisible kind of fuzzy feelings of comfort and trust and building them from the ground up, layer by layer, with absolute precision. To really grasp this, we have to fundamentally contrast the baseline transaction with what we call the true professional discipline of service. If you're just trading labor for cash, you're essentially just rushing to clear a queue. And the person on the other end, well, they feel like a barcode getting scanned. Nobody wants that. But professional discipline, which is rooted in concepts like seva, meaning selfless service, and sahabagita, working together, totally flips the script. When you apply patient communication and ethical problem resolution, the user doesn't just feel served. They walk away feeling deeply respected and honestly empowered. So we're going to build this architecture together across 5 engineered pillars. First, the economics, then the mindset, the stage, the agreement, and finally, the standard. All right, let's kick things off with pillar number 1, the economics of scaling value. You see, doing the raw work is literally just the baseline. Take a look at this value staircase. It shows how true value actually comes from intentionally planned, intangible elements. Think about a basic commodity, like a cup of roadside tea. That's step 1. The value is strictly tied to the liquid in that cup. But what happens when you move up to step 2 and introduce hospitality and hygiene? Maybe some clean seating, a tidy environment. Suddenly, the value shoots up just because of that added comfort. Then hit step 3, where you completely engineer the environment. You bring in beautiful decor, natural surroundings, a deeply comfortable vibe. That simple commodity, it's completely transformed into a high-value experience. The person receiving the service isn't really just paying for tea anymore. They're valuing the clarity, the safety, the effort, and those welcoming smiles. Moving right along to pillar number 2, the mindset, focusing on professional empathy. Now that we've got the economics down, we need to layer on a service orientation mindset. And a true service orientation means operating right at the intersection of this empathy triad. Professional empathy isn't just about, being a nice person. It's an active, deliberate discipline. It means balancing user centricity, literally meeting the precise, unique needs of the person sitting in front of you, with strict ethical decision-making. You're following agreed processes fairly, fiercely protecting their privacy. And when you actually combine that individualized care with those ethical boundaries, it leads to the third dimension, societal contribution. Every single small act of service actually builds a kinder, far more responsible community. It's a real ripple effect. Okay, let's step on to pillar 3, the stage, or how we go about designing the environment. Because let's be real, even the most empathetic professional is going to fail if they're thrown into a chaotic room. Service requires a meticulously designed stage, and it has a dual nature. On one hand, you have the physical environment. This space needs to be incredibly clean, well-ventilated, and intuitively organized so people can actually move safely. But here's the catch. That physical space has to work in total harmony with the social environment. That's your attitude, your attire, your communication. It's the polite responses, the heads up when there's a delay, and the smooth workflows where everybody knows exactly what they're doing. If either of these environments fractures, trust just completely evaporates. And that trust, it is fortified by the 3 C's of safety, which basically act as a shield for both the provider and the user. Now, safety on this stage isn't just about avoiding physical accidents, like slipping on a wet floor. No, it's about building a deep, underlying architecture of trust. It starts with cleanliness, maintaining absolutely strict hygiene. Then it relies on care, treating users with unshakable dignity and locking down their secure information. And finally, the glue holding it all together is communication, ensuring that if something goes sideways or there's a holdup, everyone knows exactly what to do and what protocols to follow. No guessing games. All right, stacking on pillar number 4, the agreement and the undeniable power of consent. Listen, consent is not just some boring pile of paperwork you breeze through. It's an empowering mechanism of profound respect. Just look at the spectrum. It perfectly highlights where things can go terribly wrong. Over on the far left, with missing consent, meaning you're just proceeding without checking, the outcome is a severe violation of trust. You literally strip the user of their dignity. Now, moving to the middle, assumed consent. Honestly, it isn't much better. Relying on context means expectations are totally misaligned. The user probably has no idea about the risks or the boundaries of what's happening. That is exactly why explicit, clearly communicated agreement is the only safe outcome. Complete understanding empowers the user, it makes them aware of the risks, and it confirms their absolute right to walk away at any time. You are literally engineering a vital bridge of trust here between your intent and their safety. And you do it by defining 4 crystal clear boundaries. First up, the exact scope, detailing precisely what services will and, just as importantly, will not be provided. Second, safety expectations, explaining exactly what steps you're taking to maintain hygiene and physical safety. Third, the limits of responsibility. You have to be honest about what your service cannot guarantee. For instance, clarifying that a pop-up wellness camp is not a replacement for a hospital visit. And fourth, data usage. You need to explicitly state exactly what you're going to do with any personal data or photographs you collect. When this bridge is strong, the user feels completely 100% secure. And finally, we secure our structure with Pillar 5, the standard, which is all about sustaining quality. To ensure quality doesn't just peak and drop off, we have to systematically measure the invisible. Look, excellent service is never a straight line, and it is for sure never a lucky accident. It is a self-feeding, continuous flywheel where every single interaction sharpens the next one. Quality isn't a destination, right? It's a constant loop flowing from input to process to output, and then directly feeding right back into the input for the very next person. Maintaining this standard means sticking to some very strict step-by-step practices. Quality actually kicks off before the user even walks in the door, during the input phase. This means identifying needs, prepping hygienic spaces, getting your tools ready. Then comes the process. Actively managing the people, the time, and the safety protocols, all while delivering the service with active listening and absolute confidentiality. And here is the crucial part. The service is not over just because the user walked out the door. The output phase requires you to secure feedback, safely clear away any waste, and critically reflect on your performance. You have to ask yourself, okay, how can I do this better next time? That exact synthesis is what drives the continuous evolution of your standard. So, let's bring it all together. Here is the completed blueprint in all its glory. Let's take a step back and really look at the fully realized architecture we've just constructed together. We have completely transformed a raw, basic baseline transaction into a highly engineered human connection. We layered the economics to build massive intangible value. We centered our mindset around professional empathy and ethics. We designed a physical and social stage that just radiates trust. We empowered the user through the explicit agreement of consent. And we sustain the whole thing with the rigorous, spinning flywheel of our quality standard. Every single piece relies on the others to hold the structure firm. So I'll leave you with this. Now that you hold this completed blueprint in your hands, that old baseline transaction, it's just no longer acceptable. Take a hard look at the environments you control today. Are you just going to process another transaction, or are you ready to step up and engineer a profound human connection? The choice and the architecture is entirely yours.